Hello and welcome to my channel. I like to share videos related to personal growth, shifting your mindset, and taking your health into your own hands. These are things that I have become very passionate about over the years, and if they're things that interest you as well, I invite you to hit that subscribe button down below and join me on this journey. There is so much power and beauty in being a woman. It's hard to get to a point where we see this. As women, there are so many things that we are taught about ourselves, about our bodies, about our experiences that make it feel like it's a really difficult, challenging thing to be a woman. But in my own experience, since going off birth control 2 years ago, I've been on this journey of truly connecting with and learning about my body and the experience of womanhood and feeling into that and trying to become one with that experience, because I am a woman and that impacts pretty much everything about my life and my experience. And it's something that I really want to delve deeper into and embrace. I've been learning quite a bit about my cycle, and I do want to say I'm no expert on this matter, but I have done a lot of research, read a lot of books, and just been exploring my own body and what it tells me. And so this is something that I have become very passionate about and that I would love to share with anyone who's interested in learning more about it as well. As human beings, we are very much influenced by our hormones. And as women, our hormones kind of fluctuate and change throughout our cycles every single month. And these fluctuations in hormones cause all sorts of things to happen and influence how we feel greatly. So I have found that it's actually very beneficial to understand these changes and then to try and sync up our lives and our actions and the way we go about our days with these changes in hormones, because they really do impact so many things about us, especially if we're off birth control. I do want to say, if you are on birth control, it's very different for you. Birth control kind of keeps your hormones the same and completely changes everything relating to your menstrual cycle. So this is really mostly the case for women who are off birth control. And I do have a different video about my journey going off birth control and how I manage things being off of it. I will link that right here. So I'll give you a little rundown of the 4 phases of our menstrual cycle, and then kind of what's going on, a brief summary of what's going on during those phases, and how we can sync up our actions with the phases. The first phase in our cycle is called the follicular phase. It begins on the first day of our period, and it goes all the way up until ovulation. During this phase, one of our follicles in our ovaries becomes very big and ripe and prepares to be released at ovulation. Estrogen is the hormone that is dominant during this phase. So what this means is it's a great time for creativity and productivity, especially after your period ends. You're in this perfect phase for new beginnings and to really take charge of the things that you want to create in your life. After this is the ovulatory phase, and this is when the follicle that has been ripening bursts and an egg is released and it travels down to the fallopian tube. Estrogen is at its highest point during ovulation, so we're really feeling the juices of creativity. It's a great time to take action and implement changes in your life. I'm someone who's always thinking about the things that I could be doing differently, the things that I want to change about my diet, about my habits, about my routine. Like, I'm just constantly wanting to improve. And so I think as a woman, we have this really beautiful opportunity to do that every single month. Not saying that men and everyone else can't do the same thing, but our hormones kind of give us this peak of like, now is the time to do these things. Next, we enter the luteal phase, which begins after ovulation and lasts all the way up until the beginning of our next period. And during this phase, the follicle, which held the egg, turns into something called a corpus luteum, which produces progesterone. So progesterone is the dominant hormone during the luteal phase. And progesterone causes us to kind of want to slow down, complete the projects that we have been working on, prepare things for the beginning of our next cycle when we will feel that rejuvenation and be prepared to start again. So it's a great time to finish up tasks and to prepare for rest, whether that means doing extra work or doing extra chores around the house. Really prepare to give ourselves the time that we need during the next phase, which is when we're on our periods. And that is when rest is very important, very necessary. Our periods are the time where we really need to relax and unwind, because during our periods, all of our hormones are at a low. Our body is doing a lot of work getting rid of what it doesn't need anymore. It's a time when we are shedding what we no longer need in our bodies, and it's a lot of work, so we do really need rest. Throughout history, there have been many cultures where women went off on their own and really took the time during their periods to just relax and meditate and just be calm and still in their bodies. And I think we have really lost that in the culture that we live in today, that's so fast-paced, work all the time. There's no time to slow down. There's no time to lean on someone else, no one really to lean on. So if women have kids and they have full-time jobs and they have all these responsibilities, oftentimes they're also the ones cooking and cleaning, and really women have a lot on their plates. But they now live in a society where there's also so much expected of them, so there's really no time to take rest. And to me, this is kind of sad, because it limits people's ability to be in sync with their bodies. So I know that everyone is busy and everyone has so much going on, and there's only so much room for rest and relaxation. But as much as we can, it's really great to do our best to give ourselves some time, even in the first 1 to 2 days of our period, to really just rest as much as possible. As women, we really experience such an incredible journey every single month, and I think there's something so beautiful in understanding and connecting with that journey. I know that I have felt like I have really embraced womanhood so much more as I continue to understand more about my body and really respect what my body needs on a day-to-day basis. Before I go, I wanted to share some resources that have helped me so much along the way, helped me gain knowledge on these things. I feel like we are always students of life, and there's so much to learn all the time, and our bodies are actually really wonderful teachers if we take a closer look at how they're acting and what they're trying to tell us. So I have learned a lot of information on this subject from books, and there are 3 books in particular that I would like to share with you all. The first one I have talked about before. It's called The Garden of Fertility by Katie Singer. This is the book that I read when I was going off of birth control, and since then I've read it twice more. I just finished reading it for the 3rd time, and I'll probably read it again because there is just so much knowledge in that book, and it's really, really helpful when you're trying to understand your natural cycle. Another book I would recommend is This Is Your Brain on Birth Control by Sarah Hill. I would say if you are someone who overthinks and becomes anxious easily and who is not planning to go off of birth control, maybe don't read this one, because I read it after being off birth control, and it was still quite intense for me because I had been on it for about 8.5 to 9 years. So it's an intense book because she goes into all this research that has been done on how birth control impacts our bodies and our brains, and more importantly, she talks about the research that has not been done and the ways that we do not understand how it affects us. So it's a great read and super fascinating, but definitely not for everyone. And then the 3rd book is a book that I am reading now. It was recommended to me by my fertility tracking teacher, and it's called Her Blood is Gold by Lara Owen. And this one is specifically about periods and the ways in which our society and culture has shifted our perspective and experience with our periods and caused us to kind of hate them and want to avoid them as much as possible. And it invites us to reclaim our connection with our periods and to see them as the beautiful natural thing that they truly are. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you got something out of it, and I will see you in the next video.